Good morning. Thank you all for coming and being with us today. I'm Greg Lee. I have the honor of serving as well, we're here to talk about traffic. I have the honor of serving as Vice President of the Berwick Civic Association and represent Berwick on the Mideast Area Commission. We're here today to talk about an important topic, Vision Zero. Vision Zero Columbus is a holistic safety initiative that makes protecting lives the #1 priority of our transportation system. Development of the Vision Zero Columbus Action Plan 1.0 is complete. It identifies a set of strategies and actions that over the next 2 years is going to aims to achieve zero fatality crashes on our city streets. It's important that residents all around our city, especially here on the east side, feel safe when they use our city's transportation system. This means when they're driving, when they're walking, riding a bike, and even getting on and off COTA buses. In our neighborhood, speed along Livingston Avenue is a top priority concern among residents. This action plan involves strategies to help slow speeds on Livingston and other streets, but we're doing it through data. We're collecting data and identifying the high crash locations, and that's where we're going to focus our efforts. We thank Mayor Ginther, the City of Columbus Department of Public Service, City of Bexley, Mayor Kessler, and other community groups that have been involved in making this vision come to reality. And now I'd like to welcome Mayor Ginther to the podium.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee, and thank you for all of your great work and partnership on these efforts. I want to thank my good friend Mayor Kessler, the City of Bexley, Director Jennifer Gallagher, all of our Vision Zero partners that have helped us get to where we are today. I want to thank all of you for joining us here on Livingston Avenue. 1 year ago, almost to the day, many of us gathered at the intersection of Livingston Avenue and Barnett Road to officially launch Vision Zero Columbus. The bold transportation safety initiative affects the well-being of everyone in our community. The goal is achievable: zero fatalities and serious injuries from traffic crashes on our streets. Vision Zero Columbus makes protecting human lives the highest priority of our local transportation system. Sadly, more than 50 of our neighbors die in traffic crashes on our streets each year. Their spouses, moms and dads, sisters and brothers, friends and neighbors whose lives have tragically and suddenly ended. The loss of life is not acceptable. Traffic crashes are preventable, not accidents that are inevitable. For the past year, an intensive effort has been focused on developing our first Vision Zero Columbus Action Plan. The onset of the coronavirus in our community, just days after we launched Vision Zero, certainly changed how planning progressed. But it did not change our resolve. The planning work went virtual. Public outreach and input went virtual too. Working across departments and with community stakeholders, our committed city staff completed critical planning tasks to build our first action plan, a plan that outlines equitable strategies, attainable goals, and accountability to residents over the next 2 years. Our action plan is a living document to be continually updated as new data becomes available and as new strategies prove to be successful in making our streets safer. I want to thank the Department of Public Service Director Jennifer Gallagher for spearheading Vision Zero Columbus. And I also want to recognize Maria Cantrell, our Vision Zero coordinator, for her leadership. One of the most important tasks our Vision Zero team completed was to collect and analyze data and crash reports to identify crash risk. Through this research, a high injury network has been created to identify high crash locations in our community and to help us prioritize Vision Zero improvements. Think about this for a second. We found that 65% of our serious crashes occur on just 10% of our streets. 65% of the most dangerous crashes in this community take place on 10% of our streets. These streets tend to be multi-lane roadways with fast-moving traffic. Livingston Avenue is on our high injury network. We know that risk exists along this corridor, threatening the safety of pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. We began to address this 2 years ago when we completed improvements to the intersection of Livingston and Barnett Road, once considered one of the most dangerous in Columbus. Today it is upgraded with best practices in traffic engineering and pedestrian safety features. It better supports mobility options for residents going to schools, libraries, and recreation centers in the neighborhood. The intersection of Livingston and James Road is also being made safer as part of a nearly $3 million investment in improvements. However, we know this road is dangerous. It is supported by what we hear from residents and by data from Vision Zero. It is this type of street, one that sometimes feels like a speedway, that we must address, and that's what the Vision Zero action plan highlights. And now, another great partnership with one of our regional neighbors, the City of Bexley, and Mayor Kessler. We're going to focus on corridor improvements on Livingston between Nelson Road and James Road. The proposed plan will identify infrastructure improvements that help pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists safely navigate Livingston Avenue. Engineering, safety, and streetscape improvements will be designed to slow traffic speed and support multimodal travel. Recommendations for joint development and land use policies will come from this planning partnership as well, and we will engage many stakeholders throughout the process. We understand residents' passion and concern about this corridor safety. Columbus is excited to be working with our neighbor Bexley to support safe mobility and to protect lives. Our partnership is an example of how our entire community can work together to ensure saving lives is the highest priority of our transportation system. Like Livingston Avenue, other streets on our high injury network cross from Columbus into other municipalities. Vision Zero is not a siloed effort. The commitment to Vision Zero Columbus and the creation of our first action plan has included participation by many valued partners. Among them, CODA, MORPSI, ODOT, community partners like Ohio Health, Nationwide, and Columbus City Schools, and dozens of advocacy and neighborhood groups. All of us are committed to achieving 0 deaths and serious injuries from crashes. Every resident in every neighborhood has the right to safe transportation and to a safe return home. Mayor Kessler and I have worked on many different projects together, but I know this in particular is a very high priority for he and the people that he serve in Bexley. It's now my pleasure to introduce our partner in this work, Mayor Ben Kessler.
Thank you very much for you all coming out this morning, and thank you to Mayor Ginther, Director Gallagher, Commissioner, for your focus on what is an incredibly important issue. Mayor Ginther just used a word that I think is incredibly important in this conversation, which is a right. Public safety is a right. Feeling safe in our homes is a right, And on the Livingston corridor, safety in our homes actually comes into play, as vehicles have been hitting houses along the street for years. Walking down the sidewalk safely is a right. Being safe in our own vehicles is a right. This commitment that Mayor Ginther has expressed and that we share in Bexley is to provide for a safe, cohesive streetway that draws our two communities together instead of dividing them. Berwick is a fantastic community here in the city of Columbus, as is Eastmore, Driving Park, and all of the communities that line the Livingston corridor that we're looking at. We have a vision not just for zero fatalities. We have a vision for safety and comfort, for a pedestrian streetscape that draws our communities together and makes this corridor, it's fine, a point. These are my very important notes here. That makes this corridor a point of pride for both of our communities. The plan that we're entering in today is innovative, bringing two different jurisdictions to play and coming up with unique strategies that will make a real difference in the lives of the communities that we serve and that we live in. Realizing Vision Zero is going to take a partnership between communities across the board, but I firmly believe that together we can improve the safety of our roads, of our crosswalks, of our sidewalks, and ultimately build safer and more cohesive communities. This is the Columbus way, and it's also the Bexley way, and we're proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And what about the safety of our kids out here? What about the safety being that you in this community over here? What about all these killings and all these kids out here with nothing to do but rob and steal people's cars? What about that? Anybody got an answer to that out here? That seems like that's more important than the safety of this street right here, cars crashing.
I'd be happy to talk to you after we finish up.
Sure, for real? Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mayor Ginther, for your commitment to Vision Zero. And thank you, Mayor Kessler, for joining us today and for your partnership on creating safe mobility for all of us using Livingston Avenue. My department looks forward to accomplishing this together. What a year it has been since we last met on March 12th when we launched Vision Zero Columbus. Yet we have stayed laser focused on our Vision Zero goal to eliminate all fatal and serious injury crashes on Columbus streets. Now, our Vision Zero team has reached an important milestone, creation of our first action plan. City Council member Shayla Favor will host a public hearing on the plan on Thursday. We are ready to begin implementing the first Vision Zero Columbus action plan. It lays out an ambitious set of 2-year actions that begin to work toward the goal of zero traffic crash deaths and serious injuries. The action plan is a result of hundreds of hours devoted to collecting and analyzing data, to mobility planning, and to engaging the community. We have examined our transportation system holistically and from the perspectives of all who use it: pedestrians, cyclists, motorists, and transit users. We have been mindful of equity and factors that impact mobility options for residents in all of our neighborhoods. Vision Zero is based on the fundamental principle that our transportation system can be made safer through data-driven approaches to engineering, education, evaluation, and community engagement. We must act now. Crash fatalities in our community have continued to rise each year since at least 2015. Our action plan builds on the city's ongoing efforts to improve safety on our transportation system. It also embraces the Vision Zero principles to shift our approach towards slowing speeds and accommodating every user, including cyclists, pedestrians, and transit users with safe access along and across our city streets. Some of the planned strategies will be visible to the community. Improvements like bus stops and crosswalks and changing the speed limit downtown. Because speed is recognized and prioritized as the fundamental factor in how severe a crash will be, reducing how fast vehicles move will make a real difference towards saving lives. But other strategies may be less visible. They will have enduring impact to future work as design standards are updated and memorialized to focus on providing safe streets for all users. Vision Zero education will also build momentum and success. We will be transparent and hold ourselves accountable in reporting the work we do and the progress we make. My department is grateful to our expert partners and the many community members who have participated in developing our first action plan. We will not achieve our goal to end crash deaths and serious injuries without the commitment of all of you. It's personal to so many of us. In a Vision Zero survey completed during development of our action plan, 46% of respondents said they know someone who has been involved in a life-altering crash. I'm the mom of 2 teenage sons. One is a new driver and one who's been driving for about a year and a half. 1/3 of fatal and serious injuries crash involve a young driver, ages 15 to 25 years. Human beings make mistakes when using our transportation system, but a mistake should not cost a life. I encourage you to see the full Vision Zero Columbus Action Plan 1.0 at columbus.gov/Vision Zero and to participate in Councilmember Favor's public hearing this Thursday at 5 p.m. It will be streamed live at CTV and the city's YouTube page and Facebook page. There is also an interactive map on the Vision Zero Columbus website. You can help us by marking locations where you have experienced safety concerns while driving, walking, or biking. No matter where you live in our community or how you travel around it, Vision Zero is committed to your safety. We can all play a part, starting with our first action plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. If there are any questions regarding Vision Zero, we can take them from the podium. But as you know, Mayor Kessler and I will stick around to answer any question under the sun that you may have for us. But I want to respect Commissioner Lee and Director Gallagher's time. Any questions regarding Vision Zero? Tom?
So is it a design issue? I mean, is that the issue, do you think, on these roadways? Is that what the data is telling you? Or I heard speed limits as well need to be changed. But I mean, what specifically needs to be changed to decrease fatal crashes?
Well, I think I'll let the director speak to some of that details. I think it is design. I think it is speed. It is thinking about safety from different perspectives, whether or not the person is on foot, on bicycle, and in car. And I would argue that for a significant period of time, we've been designing roadways only from the perspective of someone inside a vehicle and how quickly they can get from point A to point B, which isn't necessarily focused on safety of everybody in the community. Director, you have other comment?
I think the mayor said it very well. We know that we have designed our streets with the car in mind and as our first priority, and we need to take a holistic look at how we design our streets, and that will be a major focus of Vision Zero, and making sure that we're designing with all people in mind, and making sure that as we move forward, a big piece of what we're doing is looking at our design manuals and all of our projects and making sure that we're scoping and designing them with all people in mind. Speed is a major component, and when you build and design your streets to allow for people to go 60 instead of 30, for example, they're going to go 60. And so that is a big piece of it. Education is another piece of it, making sure that people understand that speed is something that the higher your speed, the more impactful a crash can be. So education will also be another big component of our Vision Zero action plan.
In redesign, do you anticipate major inconvenience for people who live here? And I don't mean temporary inconvenience like barrels. I mean, you may have to redesign stuff and widen streets, and that's going to impact existing homes and businesses. Is this going to be high impact to those existing homes and businesses?
There will be some, just like now, there will be some projects and some new construction along the way. There will be others where it's perhaps bump outs or things like that, where it's not major inconveniences, but there will be times when we're redesigning roads. We always have to rebuild and maintain our roads, so it'll be as we're doing that, it will be part of that reconstruction as we're looking to perhaps narrow a road or something along those lines.
Yeah, and I would add that the consequences of not doing anything, we know what those consequences are, and that 50 of our neighbors are not going home this evening that would have otherwise if we would have designed and embraced things differently. There is human error, but there is also design based on data, information, and best practices. I might ask Mayor Kessler, he's done a lot of work on speed and the medians and Main Street and some of the other infrastructure in Bexley, and maybe just share a moment or two of what they've done in Bexley and some of the safety enhancements they've made there for pedestrians and cyclists.
Yeah, so I would just comment globally that the sort of design work that I would imagine, I can't speak for Columbus's behalf for Vision Zero, that we look at when we look at traffic calming and safety around vehicles and pedestrians, the types of long-term impacts are positive impacts. Those are impacts that our residents have appreciated and enjoyed because ultimately they're bringing a safer environment to our communities. So for example, on Main Street, I think Mayor Ginther alluded to the fact that we've installed medians along Main Street and Broad Street. That was an attempt to not just beautify our corridors, but also calm the traffic in those corridors and make for safer environment for pedestrians and motorists. And we've seen success in those efforts. We don't know what the Livingston project is going to look like when we end up planning that joint district between Columbus and Bexley. But we do know that the sorts of improvements we're looking at are ones that are enhancing the quality of life for everybody who lives along that corridor and uses it. And that can only be positive.
Any other questions on Vision Zero? I'll ask Mayor Kessler to stick around for a few minutes if you have any questions on anything else. Questions about Vision Zero?
I'm sorry.
Right here.
Okay.
And the traffic here has
Okay.
been awful with them cutting through the parking lot. Somebody actually got hit in our parking lot the other day. They're cutting through one of our entranceways there, and it's like a speedway coming through the parking lot. Is there anything that the city can do to get that from coming through our parking lot?
Yeah, I think that certainly is going to be taken into consideration as we think about this corridor, and I'll be happy to have Director Gallagher and Maria touch base with you before we leave to get the specific issues so that we can try to figure out how to address those. Be happy to do it. Any other questions from the press? All right, we'll stick around if you have any questions for Mayor Kessler and I. Thanks for joining us today. Commissioner Lee, Director Gallagher, thank you. Appreciate it, Mayor. Appreciate it. Good stuff. How you doing?